Thank you for joining us today. My name is Roy Kirchner. I am a serial entrepreneur here in Tampa Bay, Florida. I own Ultimate 3D Printing Store, Ultimate 3D Printing Services. I'm investors in some other businesses as well. And I'm looking forward to providing you secrets to success in 2025. And I'm here with John. I'm going to let him introduce himself as well.
Hey, I'm John D. Hanson. The reason the D in the middle matters is because if you're trying to find out, who is this guy? If you Google me and use the middle initial, you'll find all kinds, probably more information than you ever wanted to know. LinkedIn's a great place to go if you want to learn more. In a nutshell, what I do is a combination of public speaking, workshop facilitation, business coaching, and I've written a few books. I've got another one coming out this fall about seizing opportunity, which ties in really well as to why Roy and I are here hosting this day. We connected on LinkedIn, hit it off, loved the synergy that we had. And we thought, we've got some things that we could share and encourage people because, man, we've been in the trenches more than once as employees and as business owners and as entrepreneurs. And we thought if we could share some insights that would be helpful and encouraging and things that people could take action on, regardless of where you are in your career, man, wouldn't that have been a great thing if we could have tuned into something like that? So that's what this conversation is for, is to encourage you, to give you some ideas and concepts. And we have a couple topics that we focus on each conversation so that we've got a place where we're going rather than just two guys talking. And so, Roy, what are the two topics we're going to be talking about today?
Yeah, so we're going to be talking about how to attract and retain top talent in 2025, and then how to create a positive culture and a productive company culture. So those are the things that we're going to be talking about today. As we know, the number one thing to grow a business and scale a business is your people. Yep. That is the number one thing. You as the CEO and the founder of a company can only do so much. So it's really creating an organization that when you hire anyone, right, they share the same vision as you. So one, they have to share the same vision as the company, right, and know which direction the company is going into to retain and to please customers or clients, right? And then the second is really making sure that you create a culture inside your organization, right, that people love to come to every single day. We spend more time at the office or more time working than we do anything else, right? And you have to create as the CEO or the founder of a company, you have to create a culture within your organization that people love to come to every single day, right? That is not something they wake up and they look at and they don't want to do, because you're not going to keep top talent that way, right? So yeah, John.
And with your experience on that manufacturing side of things in 3D printing, what are some clues you've found over the years, Roy, when you're interviewing someone? And this is good because a good number of people are going to be looking for a great opportunity. What are some of the clues you look for as you're talking with them that indicates that these people could be a good fit for our organization? What are some clues you look for?
One of the biggest clues that I look for is, believe it or not, them actually interviewing me as much as I'm interviewing them, right? How many questions are they asking about what they're going to be doing, the culture of the business, how we work, what they're expected to have, not just us telling them, but if they dig in and really, the number one first thing is, have they done research on the company, right? Have they done research on me? Have they done research on my company? Have they looked to see what we do, how we do it? How much information have they looked at before they actually walk in the door, right? And then have it loaded. So I think that's one of the things that I look for, because we want to see, right, somebody dig in and really want to to have a position within the organization. And some of that is done, through when somebody applies, right? Before we really even put a human element into it, we're kind of putting them through some tests to make sure that they actually read what the job description was, right? And that they're having to do some things before. And I would recommend anybody that is, looking to hire somebody, regardless of if you use, a staffing agency, or if you're literally, putting the information out and getting resumes, right? Because what people don't understand that I can come with as a founder of companies and a CEO of companies is the number one thing, like we just said, is your top talent. But it takes an enormous amount of time, effort, consideration, and money to bring in somebody, right? And train them. And then the last thing you want is, spending all this time and they're not the right person. And then, the longer that person sits in a seat and it's not for them, the more it's actually costing the organization, and the more frustration it's giving to, believe it or not, your entire team. See, like, people don't realize it's not necessarily about it's the team. It's the rest of the people, right? Because you're pulling resources from the rest of the team, right? And you're making them help the new person that's come in, right? And that's what people don't really get. It's really about the entire team. And it's a lot more, I wouldn't say stress, but it's a lot more that they're having to do, right? It's a lot more that they're having to do on a daily basis when they're training somebody.
Yeah, and we've got somebody monitoring the chat. So if viewers want to put in a question, by all means, please do that. We're going to make sure that we set aside time as we're going through this, and especially towards the end of the conversation, to make sure that there's a chance to answer those questions that you might have, or some reflections you've got, or some experiences that you'd share that connect to this, because, people are your most important asset. It doesn't show up on the balance sheet, but my gosh, it certainly does affect how the balance sheet looks over the course of a year. Like you were talking about, right people in the right seats. When you've got the right people in the right seats, the synergy that comes from that, I'd learned this word picture about synergy that I share often, and that's where I discovered that a single draft horse can pull 8,000 pounds or 4 tons. But when you combine 2 draft horses and they're pulling together, that's the caveat. You can't have one horse just working its butt off and the other one just kind of dogging it a little bit. No, when they're pulling together, 2 draft horses can pull 24,000 pounds. So synergy is a multiplier. It's not an adder. So you're like, oh, we had one other person, we double our work. Actually, the stats prove that if you've got just 2 people on a team working well together, it shows that it's more than doubles. And so you imagine this compounding effect in a very positive way when you've got good hires, engaged team members that are working together. And that's what you talk about when you've got somebody that's maybe a good employee but not in the right seat. Or even worse, you've got somebody that's not a good fit for your organization and they're in the wrong seat. That's like throwing something into this well-oiled machine, and it starts really affecting the productivity that it was humming before. And that's just identifying those things as soon as you can. And that's why you try to be upfront in your interview process. I love that idea of, if you are seriously interested in an opportunity, seriously, then you as the candidate, the more work you put on the front side, they can tell. Employers can tell. They can tell the ones that are seriously interested, that have put in the time to research about it. Man, one of the non-negotiables for me, and not as a team member or leader or a manager, but just in life, one of my non-negotiables are people curious. And the way you can tell if people are curious is by the questions that they ask. So it's going to automatically differentiate you, whether you're in leadership or whether you're looking for a new role. If you're in HR, whatever your responsibilities are that are connected to this hiring and retention process, if you can come in genuinely curious, you're going to ask better questions. John Maxwell said that good leaders ask great questions. That's in that book. Well, there's 2 sentences in that book that really resonated strongly with me that I keep in my mind often. And it says that the quality of the answer is dependent upon the quality of the question. The better questions you ask, the better answers you get. And that applies both as a candidate and as an organization. So It really behooves you as an organization to be asking really good questions, well-worded questions, rather than the same old ones like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? What's your favorite color? If you could be an ice cream, what would it be? Those things that are questions that are just canned questions. Yeah, you might want to try to break the ice to learn about somebody, but you really want the questions to be of quality and of depth so that it's different than the experience that either the candidates had, or if the candidate is asking the questions of the company understands, oh, they've done their research. They've looked into this. They're seriously interested. You talked about culture. I want to slip back to that. But in connection with how we attract and keep top talent, those are definitely interconnected. The one aspect I thought is, if you're looking to join a company, I'll do it from the candidate's point of view. What would a candidate look for to identify this is a place where I can be, I can make a difference. I can have an impact here. What are some things you would recommend, Roy, to a candidate that they want to make a good impression? So we already come prepared, well-researched, good questions. But what other things could they bring with them into that interview that would be
I think
of value?
a secret to success there. Yeah. I think a secret to success there is one big question, right? And the number one question that I would ask is, I would ask what the core values of the company are, and the mission statement, right? And the core values. I mean, I would ask literally, do you go off of your core values within the organization to, run the business, right? Is it all based upon those core values? Because an organization that has core values and does everything around those core values, hires, fires, does every single thing, that there's culture within the company. So that's literally the first thing that can indicate if they say, well, like if they're hidden, right, within an organization, if they're not like posted in different places within the company when you walk in, like, right when you walk in, if the core values aren't there and they're not where people can see them constantly and know that, again, the core values are the vision within an organization, right, that the head of the organization has put together. And if they're not where people can see them, and then your senior leadership team or your management team can't talk to the rest of the team, and be able to point out stuff with the core values of how we run the organization, that's an organization that I don't know if you'd necessarily want to be at, right? Because that's going to show you right away that there's culture within the organization and there's structure within the organization, right? So those are some of and it doesn't matter. See, what people don't realize is it doesn't matter the size of the organization, right? It doesn't matter if it's a couple people within a business or if there's, if it's 50, 100, 300, right? It really comes down to, are they, here's the purpose, right? And if a company does not have that, and if you ask that question right away, and they can't give you the answer, man, I would run, right? That's not an organization you want to be.
Holy smokes.
Yeah, they don't know what their values are. I mean, what is it that you're going to get, right? So, and that really points out, do you align with those? You're going to know within yourself. Like if you're a candidate, you're going to know, well, I really like these core values, right? I really like what this company stands for. I mean, that gives you a first indication. And also, a lot of times when you have the right values within an organization, that's going to show you too, do they hire from within to promote up, right? Is there capability within the organization to grow and become bigger, stronger, better, right? And that's some of the things that you can say. You can ask the growth of the company year over year too. That's another question that I would ask you. The growth of the company, because if the company's not growing and it's stagnant, like you're really just taking a job, and right, it's not it's not growing, things aren't evolving, right? One of the biggest gigantic questions, and this is everybody that's listening, their eyes are gonna pop right open, is the organization having some type of training right? Or are they using or getting to start using AI, right? Is it something that, is that going to be part of their hiring process? Like, is the organization starting to use the technology within the organization, right? Because that's going to tell you right there, anybody that is in business right now that has their head down, that is not paying attention to AI, right? Then if they're not, that's not a company you want to go work for, right? That's a true indicator right there, right? Is that type of thing, man, because it's going to change the way every business works in the next 12, 24, 36, 48, 60 months, right? It's going to change everything. So that is another question a candidate can ask. And some of those right there, I mean, you're just going to know right off the bat. I mean, those are some key questions, some key indicators that tell you, wow, this is really a company that is, looking to grow. They promote from within. They're using AI, or they're starting to use AI, or they're really serious about, training the team on AI. They have core values. They have things that they do within the organization, right?
Yeah.
So, and one of the biggest things too that you could kind of see as a candidate is when you're applying for a job, how quickly are we getting back to those people, right?
Yep.
So like if you applied and you did a resume, one of the things that I look at is the actual company that is that is hiring somebody. How fast are they getting back to the candidates? Because you're looking for top talent, and trust me, if there's top talent applying, it's our job as the owners, right, to see that, because they're going to get taken up by somebody else.
Yes.
Right? So you got to kind of move sometimes fast, right? So you really got to interact with these candidates that are sending in their resumes. And then if they're not responding, I mean, that tells you right there too, right? If you're asking them to do something before you move to the next step for them to come in, if you're asking for additional information from them and you don't get it, that's telling the organization, are they, did they just put their resume out there and they're not really, that type of person? So
putting the shoe on the other foot. So if you've got candidates coming to you, you might think training and development. Well, what does that matter? A Gallup poll 2 years ago showed that 86%, so this was 2 years ago, 86% of team members wanted training and development. But there was a caveat to that, meaning that they didn't just want more training on the technical stuff on how to do their job better. What they really wanted were, what training do you have that helps me professionally and personally? And if you've got stuff that's not just check the box, once a year we do this thing, and that's kind of routine, it's standard, it's going to feel like that. But if you as a company have training and development that helps them progress personally and professionally, that's going to be highly attractive to a growth-minded candidate, to that top talent you're trying to attract and keep. Using AI automatically communicates that you're forward-thinking as a company. No, maybe you don't use it perfectly, but are you using it at all? Like you said, Roy, it's changing the landscape of business of all sizes. And when I talk with individuals and I find out, I'm using ChatGPT, I'm using this tool, I like this tool, that automatically communicates to me, I don't care what age they are. I ask in the conversation, and if they volunteer it, that's a big green flag for me that this person is forward thinking. This person is leveraging the tools available to them. So if you communicate that to your prospects, and a good number of them are going to be on the younger side of things, it's communicating that you are forward thinking as a company. You're wisely you're not just trying everything, but you are using something that clearly is getting to become more and more mainstream and built into companies' processes. So that forward thinking communicates to your candidates, especially your top talent candidates. And you've got to, like you said this also so well, Roy, you've got to assume if this is top talent, there are other companies that would love to have this person and snatch them up. So if you've got somebody who's top talent in your eyes, and after they've had that conversation and that interview, and you're not contacting them after a conversation, like same day contacting, like, if you want to do one more conversation, I talked to a gentleman that does helps with staffing challenges for companies. He said he encountered a company in New England. Their process was 12 interviews. Now, it was a higher level position. It was an executive position. 12 interviews. Who's got time for 12 interviews? And this company was flying the candidates in for every one of these interviews. And I'm thinking, 12? Like, 3 felt like a lot to me back in the days where I was getting hired for some major sales jobs. Don't make the interview process so laborious that people are like, if this is the interview process, what's the onboarding like? Those are some things that you as a company can communicate to your candidate that you're different. This is how the experience from the outset, from the interview, you're different and in a good way. And I think that sense of urgency, especially if they're good talent, you don't want them going to somebody else.
Yeah, and I think there's a big, gigantic difference that candidates don't realize, right, within organizations, right? And one is the size of the organization changes things, right? So if you're a small business, right, you have to look and you're applying as a candidate, right? It's going to be a different culture, right? It's going to be different. They may not have the same things a big company. They may not even have the same benefits, same benefit package, right? Because small business, it costs a lot of money to get dental, vision, healthcare, right? But the difference is, right, that with a small organization, you have a small team that works together, right? And you actually are looked at, right? Because it's not an algorithm deciding if you're going to get a raise or not, right? It's some of these big companies, it's that. Like, you're just a number, right? And I'm not saying that's a bad thing anyways. Working for a bigger company is definitely, there's a lot of benefits sometimes that people want, right? And they don't have an issue being a number. They're doing their job, and that's what it is. In a smaller organization, it's a lot different, right? And with the smaller organization, one of the things that you could say is like, you don't have health insurance. Well, when you're in your interview, you could say, well, it really means a lot to me. Is there a way that you could maybe give me the money and I can get my own independent policy? People don't even think of that, right? So like, it stops them because they immediately look at, what does this company offer as benefits, right? So it's interesting that a candidate sometimes just knocks you out, right? Instead of seeing when you actually interview what could be done, right? What could be done? Because a small organization, it's interesting, right? So I'm in the dental industry, right? And we have a dentist right down the street that has done thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars worth of work for the people that work for me. Now, I don't have dental insurance, but I have a guy down the street and I service him with 3D printed machines and dental supplies, and he takes care of my people. So, but again, that's not right in the front on a job resume, like our when you go to apply for us, right? It doesn't say dental insurance, right? But when you're in your interview, we can tell you, like, we have these things, right? We have these capabilities, or we may say, again, I'm a small organization, but I may provide lunch every single day, to make up for certain other things, right? Or I may do interactive things like take people, give people gift cards, or, give them a cruise or something like that. So there's always different things that it's interesting that, you're looking at something and people don't realize, like, that's part of the hiring process, that you actually have the ability to negotiate these things, right? And that's pretty interesting, especially with the smaller organization. And sometimes even with a bigger organization, you say, like, listen, you got paid time off, it's a week, but I really want 2 weeks. Yeah, you don't think if you're a top candidate that they want, that they can change for you? Absolutely they can. They can make concessions. So those are things that candidates just don't sometimes realize, right? And it's all about, again, the vision. An employer, a company, a CEO or a senior leadership team, they want the best talent. They want to attract the best talent. They want to keep the best talent. They want to retain the best talent. And that means a lot in this day and age, right? Because you really do. It's all to grow. It's really about your people.
Yeah.
And you never ever want to forget that, right?
Yeah,
So
and I would say one more thing before we pivot to culture, the retention aspect of top talent. My experience has been, and what I've seen and heard from other companies, is that who is signed up for cable, right? And you're a new customer. Oh, love you, get the best rates. But then over time, like over a year or two, the rates start to creep a little bit higher, and you're not new anymore. And so the new subscribers get the best deals and the best package, and you don't. And the thing that's one of the most important aspects of retention is never taking for granted the relationship, and also proactive engagement outside of the time windows when it's expected. Man, you can't wait till the year-end review and say, here's your attaboy, maybe a bonus. Let's do it again next year. Anything we can do to improve it. Like it's routine, it's expected, and they're hoping to get a bonus out of it. That's what they get out of it. Now, if you out of the blue, not in a quarterly, not in an annual, one of your best team members, and you proactively, now I recommend flipping the script. So this might be a little scary, but I recommend flipping the script, and I say, hey, John, I want to talk to you for a minute in my office. Now, if you know what that feels like inside when the person that's in charge says, hey, I want to talk to you for a minute in my office, has that ever been like you're getting a raise? I'm getting promoted, No, it's usually like, oh, crap. And so then that long, slow walk to the office, you are bracing yourself for, I don't know, Mr. Smith called in or this customer or that. And then they sit down in the chair and you say, I just got off the phone with, let's say, Mr. Smith from this company, ABC company, and he says that every time he works with you, he gets what he needs, when he needs it by, at the quality he expects. I just wanted to say thank you for that, because it's a significant customer that means a great deal to our business. Thank you for that. Is there anything that we could do, so a wave of a magic wand, is there anything we could do to make your job easier so you could do more like that? And then you just be quiet, have a pen and paper ready to write after they recover from the shock of not being, terminated or written up or something. And they're like, oh, they will never forget that moment, because it's not when it's expected. And it's a compliment tied to how they make the business more successful. And then you're asking for their feedback about how they can help how the company could be better. I guarantee if you flip the script on your best team members like that, they'll never forget it. And it's one of those things, you'll get some tremendous feedback that's going to help your business. The best question to ask is, when was the last time someone did that for you? If you're in a leadership role, if you own a company, when was the last time somebody did that for you? And that's why I think recognition is a powerful tool. It's so simple, and it requires nothing but time and intentionality. But if you'll flip the script on your best team members and do that, ask those questions of them, compliment them first in a tangible way about how they make a difference in the business, they'll never forget that. And then if some company dangles more money and says, hey, the grass is greener over here, they're like, why would I go someplace else? I know I make a difference here, and they told me so. Not at the annual reviews. That's a powerful tool to help with retaining your top talent, because I guarantee you, if you got people that are experienced in your industry, there are companies actively shopping them. They are trying to get your best talent away to them, and they'll promise them the moon. They don't have as good a culture as you've got. Your team member isn't going to know that for the first 6 months, 12 months. Companies like, at least we got them for 6, 12 months. You want to be not taking that relationship for granted and flip that script on them in a positive way and really help drive that proactive retention so they know they make a difference. That's what I'd recommend. Now, I want to pivot to culture. They're so closely related. You and I have worked for companies that have had good culture. We've also worked with companies that didn't have good culture. So, in your opinion, Roy, where does that start? Where does healthy culture start?
I think it starts at the top, right? I think it starts at the very top is the culture of the organization and understanding, the parameters that are put in place by the organization to create culture and keep culture within an organization, right? Yep. What is being done to keep culture, right, and to keep people happy. And I think, one of the things that can constantly be done by the organization, the employer, whatever you want to call them, that should be done. I truly believe it should be done, and it should always be done, probably at least on a quarterly basis, right, is personality test and the change in people's personality, because that's the most important thing, right, is even on a quarterly basis, if you're doing a personality test, one thing that we know in this world, in this entire world, is things change every single day, every single week, every single month, right? And you could be in a job, you could be working at an organization, and everything's great there, but something's off at home, right? Yeah. And it's affecting your work, right? And the only way to work through that, right, inside an organization is really to let the organization know that there's something going on, right? And the only way sometimes that you can get that information, again, is some type of personality test, right? Saying, oh my gosh, like it's giving a red flag to the organization, saying like this person or she's or he is dealing with something outside, and that type of stuff is indicated in that. So I think it's great, but there should always be, like you said, there should always be huddles within an organization, to make sure that the vision of the organization is continuing to be known and continuing to be sought after, right? Like the direction in which you're going. So I think huddles are a tremendous thing. And then, what are you doing within the organization to do that huddle, to build that type of stuff, And I think one of the things that is interesting, I sat on a panel, and we were talking about this, right? We were talking about any and everything you could do. And it was like 2 weeks before the panel, I did something, and it didn't seem like a lot, right? But it actually was. I went and I bought a grill, and I put it at the office, and we used to just grill out, right? We grilled out food, and everybody would stop working, and we'd grill, and we would have this synergy and talk to each other. And then, next thing you know, it turned into like what hamburgers are better. Like we'd buy different brands hamburgers, and which one was better. And oh my gosh, we got a grill. Can we do chicken? Can we do steak? Next thing you know, it brings out everybody, and they're talking about it, and it's just different, right? And necessarily that doesn't cost a gazillion dollars, right? That's not like giving people a raise, and then it's not buying very expensive things for them. It's just literally everybody coming together and then having some time off and kind of hanging out, like barbecuing during the day, and it was just amazing to see that type of stuff, right? So I mean, I think there's plenty of things that can be done.
And I also like that you tied in community with that, because some companies think, hey, we get them a ping pong table, get them beanbag chairs, get them draft on tap after work hours, and all those things are cool and fun. But I saw companies that had those things, but they weren't connected with their employees, with their team members, and so it was a perk, it was a benefit, but it really didn't bring the team together, nor did it connect leadership with the team. Or when you're talking about the grill and you're rolling that out, you're the one flipping the burgers, not some person, hey, make them food, let us know which ones. I talk about this in types of leadership, like engaged leaders are most effective, and you don't want to be the travel agent. Now, I have nothing against travel agents. I have friends that do it for a living, so this is for illustration purposes only. As a leader, you don't want to be the travel agent. It's like, book the trip, let me know how it goes, and if you need something while you're out there, contact me, right? And then when they get back, how was the trip? They didn't go on the trip with them. You want a tour guide. You want somebody that's going along there with you, that's experiencing it with you, and then you especially want a tour guide that's just as passionate about it. You could go do the same tour, same experience every year, and they'd have something new, because it's not routine, check the box, all right, we're going to talk about this, next stop, talk about this. Those are the leaders that are doing it with you, but they're not enthusiastic about it. They're not engaged. They're not adding new things or progressive or forward thinking. So when you've got an engaged leader who's forward thinking and wants to have this inclusive community, and inclusive is kind of a buzzword, but what I mean is togetherness, that makes a difference. Now, you might think, yeah, but I'm part of this organization that's massive. Okay, as a department head, then you can have the culture within that department be that. I know it's more of a challenge in a large enterprise-sized company. Totally understand that. I've worked for companies that size before. You can feel like a number. The thing that made a difference about whether I felt like a number or not was my direct supervisor and what they did that was different than other direct supervisors that helped the team. Doing those huddles you talked about, that's powerful. 10 minutes. Ritz-Carlton, a leader in hospitality industry, sold for billions of dollars to Marriott. They would do 10-minute stand-up meetings before the shift would kick off. Why did they need that? Because they were so bad? Oh, no, it was the other way around. Because they were so good, they made sure the things that were most important for the team to know, and everybody's in that. It's not management has their huddle, and then the people that do the lesser work, they have their meeting. No. Whole team, 10 minutes before shift starts, they have a conversation. So what that means as a company is they were paying for people to be there early before their shift started, so everybody could be on the same page from entire management down to front customer-facing roles. Everybody attended that. Well, of course, if you've got people on the same page on your standards, you talked about core values in the first half of things, Roy, that's where you get to reinforce the vision and the values and how it makes a difference for the experience that our customers get because of what we're doing. You're connecting the why to it, but you're doing it as a community. Those things are powerful. So it's not about the burgers or the grill. It's not about that. It's about the coming together around the burgers and the grill. That experience is one of those things that's absolutely culture, and it will help attract and keep top talent. Because what are they going to say to their friends? Interestingly, what they will say to their friends is not if it's a perk or a benefit, other companies might have that too. What you're probably going to hear from them, if companies put too much weight on the perks and the benefits, that's not what people are going to be talking about. It's usually going to be the things that are difficult, that are hard, that aren't positive. They might mention benefits that make it worth putting up with that culture. On the other hand, if they've got a really positive culture, what they're going to say is, man, I love going to work. And here's the reasons why. One of them will be the perks and benefits, but I like the people I work with. I make a difference there. What they communicate is going to be on the positive side of things. Yeah, there's no perfect place ever. But if it's a healthy, positive culture, people are going to enjoy going to work. And the things they're going to say, the benefits or the perks, those special things might be in that list. But what's going to top the list is how they feel, how they're treated. Do they make a difference? Those things are cultural, and it takes that kind of intentional communication and putting things in place. So you're absolutely right. It starts at the very top. So I'm a candidate. I'm interviewing for a company. I know what their website says. So I got values there. I see their mission. It's interesting. It's attractive. What are some things that a candidate would be looking for? What are some clues culturally as they're interviewing? We talked about values, but what might be some clues for a candidate of this could be a good fit for me culturally? That can be hard to tell in an interview. So I'll ask you both as a candidate and as a business owner, how do you position, how do you communicate culture to a candidate? So let's look at it from both. I'm curious to hear your perspective as a candidate and as a business owner.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I'll definitely say too, and I'm just going to bring it up, and I can't talk on this subject because I don't do it here, right? And I don't believe in it. I 100% don't believe it. I don't believe in remote workers. So I'm just putting that out there. I do not in any way, shape, or form believe in somebody that is remote. I don't think you can build culture. I don't think it's right. I think you're seeing right now, even in government, right, with the new administration, they're saying like you got to come into the office. So I am a absolute gigantic, enormous. You're never going to change me. I'm a component of people being in office. So that's just how I am. If you're looking for information on that, I would say you're not going to get it from me because I don't believe in it. I believe that it's very hard to create culture that way. I could understand, and even if a company has multiple locations,
Right.
then it's the job of the senior leadership team, if you have 5 locations, to spread that culture through the 5 locations and do the same thing at each location, as the company. But I definitely, or if you have people that are on the road, it's when they come back is when you do things to bring people together, because they're not always on the road. Like if you had outbound salespeople and different things, but there's times that they're in the office, right? I think some of the things, the culture is, believe it or not, some of the major things that a company could do, right, is kind of have employees or team members within the organization make some videos of how the culture is, and then you could provide those to a candidate, right? That's a pretty interesting thing. Is you could say, hey, here's people that work for the company, and this is what they say about the company. Now, some of that is a grain of salt because they're providing it, right? But you can kind of see through some lines there, right? One is, did they do that? That's a pretty interesting thing to see a company provide, videos. Is there team huddles, right? And there's pictures, and is that displayed places, right? Or could that stuff be provided? Hey, what's the last thing that you guys did together? And is it on their social media?
Right.
Different things like that. So you can look at the company's social media and see what kind of interactive things there. Do you see people smiling, right, at the company? Do you see them having fun on social media, within the organization? So you can really get some ability to see the culture, and it's just investigating same thing, investigating the company, right, that you're looking to get a job at, so those types of things. And it's the same thing. Please understand, if you're a candidate and we're looking to hire you, we're looking at the same exact thing. We're looking at the same as you. We're Googling who you are, right? What comes up on you, what you portray, right? And what you look like on the internet. Especially if you're going to be part of the organization, right? Because we want to see that type of stuff too, because you're part of the organization. Your name's going to be stamped on that company, right? And what is it that you're showing out to the public? Because again, if you're in a position where somebody is going to, there's a lot of times like I'm going to try to. I'm trying to get to know the company that I'm about to do business with. And if I get to know the person, I Google that person too. And I want to see who they are and what kind of relationship I can have with them. Right. So I think you're going to see as things go on, and AI will progress in that, right? Because you can ask that, you can ask for it to write you a summary. You can ask it to scan sites and write summaries of what does AI think of the culture of the company, and it will analyze it. It's pretty crazy, right? So you could get all that information now. There's so much technology at your fingertips to really find, as an employer or as a candidate, right? What the demographics of that person is, right? So those things. And then, you kind of got to look at ask the question at the very beginning, what is your hiring cycle? Do you go through multiple interviews? Do you go through one interview? Is it an in-person interview? Is it online? Is it video? Is it, is there multiple interviews? Is there one online and then one in person? Do you get a tour of the facility of where you're going to be working at? Do you get to talk to other employees and just have a conversation with them? I mean, all these types of things. I mean, there's so many things that when you're, again, looking for the right job or the right candidate for the position, these are things that you can absolutely do. And it's going to point out, you're going to see red flags on both sides, right? You're going to see red flags. If there is red flags, you're going to see red flags on both sides. Is this really the place I want to be at and put all my time, effort, and consideration? Is it that, from both sides?
Yeah. Yeah. By the way, would you have the chat checked to make sure we don't have any? I want to make sure we've got 15 minutes left. Make sure that there aren't any questions that we're missing. Somebody's put a question. I want to answer that. A video.
Yeah, absolutely.
A video is one of those things. If a picture is worth 1,000 words, a video is worth 1,000,000, because you get a feel for it. You get to not just get a feel for the person, but you'll also get an idea for the culture too. If videos made, like, how few companies do that. The social media you talk about, yes, it's a two-way street. Yes, the company's going to be researching you as a candidate. What do they have on social media? And that can be a strength for you. If you're comfortable with and use social media and understand that going into an interview, that you have social media and you're intentional about how you use it in a professional and personal way, that's going to be a plus. That's going to be a plus, especially if the company you're interviewing with also uses social media and is active on that. That's a plus both ways. So it's a two-way street and can be a positive thing. But the testimonial videos, it's gold. If you're a company that's looking to attract and retain top talent, get at least one, but if you can get more than that, of team members sharing their experience on video, 3 minutes or less, just short, bite-sized. It's that authentic storytelling firsthand from somebody's experience that is going to make a world of difference. And yep, you could say, well, they just picked the ones that are most happy and put them on there. But how few companies actually do this? You would automatically, as a company, differentiate yourself by having this, not just on your company website, but having social media and a footprint there. It gives you multiple ways to do outbound efforts to attract your top talent while communicating what your culture is. So the last 10 minutes that we've got here, I want to talk about the intersection of values and attracting and keeping top talent, the culture and how those two intersect. So the question I'd have, Roy, is, can you have one and not the other? It seems to me like they're interdependent. I don't think you can have strong retention and have a culture that, frankly, sucks. On the other hand, so is that possible? And then companies could think, well, what we do is so much in demand, or culture, it's impossible to please. Let's look at that one. It's impossible to please people nowadays.
I think there is. So I don't think it would bear all the way. But imagine a company pay really, really well, right? And they have excellent, phenomenal benefits, right? But they just don't have any culture, right? And it will get people to come there. It will get people to stay because of the benefits, right? But eventually it's not, right? Because you gotta love what you do every single day, and you're not gonna stay there forever, right?
Yes.
You're gonna exit at some point in time or another. You're gonna get tired of the culture. But I would say that it can happen, right? Because that is something that does happen, right? It could have an amazing sign-on bonus, right? And it could have, all these different things. And, the sign-on bonus you don't get, let's say it's even an amazing one, but you don't get it till after you've been there for 90 days or 180 days, right? And then you get it. Well, you're going to, depending, even if the culture's not like, you're just like in your head, you're going to hold out, right? And you're going to be like, well, let me at least put this away, So, I mean, there's so many. I think there is the opportunity to be able to get top tier talent, but you're not going to keep them, right? No. And that's the thing. And that's the thing that the organization's going to need to figure out, right? Is there's a problem there, and you're not retaining them. And then it's, again, it's kind of crazy, because then you're really losing out, right? You're paying top tier money. You're giving top tier benefits, and you've took the time, effort, and consideration to train that candidate, and then you're going to lose them.
Right.
And that's just the thing that you don't want to do, right? No. You just don't want to do, but it does happen, right? Yeah. It does happen. They could be selling a product or a service that has extremely high profit margins, right? And they're able to offer these types of things, right? And they're able to get top tier talent, and but you're not going to keep that, right?
Right. Yeah, I know in future conversation we're going to talk about the customer experience. We're talking heavily about the employee experience today, and there's a lot of parallels there too. A lot of companies chase after acquisition because they have to, because the churn is so bad. where if they've got a really stable customer base and they can build on that. That's how you can scale and sustainably grow year over year, because you don't have peak customers coming in the front door, going out the back door. Same thing for team members, right? So in that idea of what are a couple things, we already talked about some of the community aspect of things. What's perhaps another idea or two that you've used to help people stay in the building, so to speak, team members? They come in. What helps them stay in the building? What helps retain outside of the couple things you've mentioned already?
I think one of the most important things, right, is when somebody doesn't know something within the organization, but another team member does, they take the time out, right? You teach your team to take the time out to actually improve each other. So, I mean, that's one of the most amazing things that you could actually do is you could say, like, I don't want this team member just to do it because they know how. If somebody else doesn't know how to do it, like, teach them how, right? Lift up that person, right?
Yeah, together all boats rise,
so
right?
I think
together, that idea of the tide, everybody bring each other together. Yeah.
And then, there's a time when you should really do huddles to hear from everybody in the organization, right? And to say, how can we be better? Like the most amazing thing that, a lot of organizations don't do is listen to their people, right? That's the best thing in the world, is listen to your people. Let there be indicators within that organization to tell you, what can be better, right? What can be better? How can we fix things? How can we be better? How can we grow, but how can we be better for everybody that's here? How do we lift up the team? And you need to have an open dialogue in some areas of that, right? So that you can, because that's a huge big thing, to be able to do.
Teddy Roosevelt, what he did as president was called a listening tour, on a train, stop to stop, got off and asked questions. He wanted to know at the ground floor level, what is the average American facing? What's on their mind? What's important to them? And it went back to Washington and actually did something about it. That's one of the cautions that I have. If you're going to do a listening thing where you're asking about your people, they call it closing the loop. When you're going to ask for feedback, you've got to communicate back to them what you did. Even if what they ask for isn't possible, you don't think it's possible, you still look into it. And if you can't, you explain why you can't. That will earn more trust if you say, looked into it, not able at this time, we'll keep that in mind. Should we be able to in the future? That's going to earn more trust than never asking at all. On the other hand, if you ask but don't follow up, then it feels like those surveys that we enter as customers all the time. We don't know what happens with those. Maybe you're entered in a drawing, you might win something you never do. So that it's just feels like a waste of your time. So if you're going to do that listening, absolutely follow it up with closing that loop. And I love what you talked about making it better. That continuous improvement mindset, gosh, when you got a team of people like that are thinking about how can we do this better, I'll give you one story and I'll come back so you can close us up. Steel can company in Brazil called Brasilata. They make steel cans. That's what they did. They do. Well, they wanted to improve their quality and their employee retention, and they realized we're gonna ask for their feedback on what we can do better. But before they did that, what they did was they told every single team member, regardless of what their role was within the factory walls, all of you are innovators. We want you to be thinking about what can we be doing better. Well, they got thousands of responses back from this plant that had, 1,000 or 2 employees. They got thousands, so many so there was multiples per team member. And the results were their quality went up, their attendance went up, their productivity went up, their profitability went up. And because they did profit sharing, the people that were in the plant also got a little piece of that on the back end of things. And it was all by framing it. You all are innovators of how do we make this place better. That's a steel can company in Brazil. So if you've got the ability to do that, it can be a huge benefit to your culture and to your retention, your team member top talent team retention. If you do something of that, of helping them understand, you help make this company better. If you see something that could be better, please let us know. We don't want to do just good enough. We want to do as good as possible. So in the 3 minutes we got left, I'd love for you to close this, put a ribbon on it. What is it like to work with a company? So you've got companies you work with, right? What's it like for you as a business owner to work with a company that keeps their top talent and has excellent culture? How does that impact your business when you work with companies that have that?
It shines through. You can see it. 100%. So you're going to see them succeed. You're going to see them grow year after year. It's just there, so it's really great that way. And you just kind of said it. That's where I want to leave off with is, we're doing this to help and teach and grow. And, we do these, every Friday. And if there's anything that people want us to talk about, please reach out to John or I anytime. And, we'll bring it up the next week on this. Like I said, this is just pouring information to help any person or any company or any organization become bigger, stronger, better all the time. So I appreciate tremendously, both of us appreciate everybody today listening and hearing the information that we provided. And please feel free to reach out to us or follow us. We're constantly trying to really provide information all the time on topics just like this.
Yep. We're both on LinkedIn. We're both very active on that platform. By all means, follow us, connect. If you've got a topic you'd love for us to talk about, put it in a message to us. We do respond and keep track of all those responses that come back. We love your feedback. It's here for you. So if there are things that could be of value to you, regardless of what your role is, let us know. We'd love to talk about that because this is such a broad thing. If we can help people that are consistently giving their time to be here, then we'd love to talk about that and go over and share some ideas. So by all means, we'd love to hear from you. We appreciate your time. And the most valuable thing I used to say is your time. Well, in some instances, you don't have a choice. Somebody says, you got to be here. Well, now your time isn't a choice, but your attention is. And we got so many things trying to get our dang attention, those little red circles on my phone. You giving an hour of your time and your attention to us today really means a lot to us. And so we're grateful for that. And we look forward to the next conversation next week, where we'll go into a couple more new topics, either that you've shared with us or that are on our minds and our hearts to help people in their journeys, in their professional careers. So we appreciate it. And I know you and I are both looking forward to the next conversation. We'll have Spencer and or Doug back too. So you'll get three of us in the future. So we appreciate you tuning in.
All right. Thank you so much. Have a great day, everybody.